Yeah. Oh, I saw your ribbon cutting, Bob. When did you? Is it just like the official opening of that third storefront that you now have?
Fourth, fifth, I don't know, whichever one it is. Yep, yes, where Coins and Hobbies was. We're already in it, yes. Yep, yep.
Did you buy the building itself or?
No,
No.
Stone and Browning owns it. We rented from there.
Nice.
Hmm. Right.
Bob, I'll take.
Oh, I appreciate that. I was gonna try to scribble them. We are live, we are recording. I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 6:02. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
No.
Hearing none, we'll move on. I guess actually I need a motion. The two of you are gonna be busy, to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is to consider approval of the previous meeting minutes. I know it's 2 months old. I don't think there were any issues with it.
Sure.
Okay, need a
Yeah.
motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Yes.
Who's? No, I'm just catching up.
Yep.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Abby,
Abby.
Steve second.
Ooh, sorry.
Abby, Steve, agenda.
Previous meeting minutes. I'll make a motion that we approve the previous meeting minutes as presented. Need a second?
Second.
Okay. I don't see any guests online. There are no guests here, so we can, I'm sorry, I didn't call that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, I'm trying to move along because we're on a time schedule. I apologize. Receiving guests, I don't see any. Counselor, do you have anything that you want to report?
No, not particularly. As everyone knows, Wednesday is the anniversary of the floods. As of now, there is an event scheduled in City Hall Park hosted by Rainbow Bridge and Berry Up. There's sort of a commemoration event, but there is another hurricane on its way that we are predicted to get hit with on Wednesday. So I don't know if that plan's gonna go as scheduled.
Okay.
But we are plugging along on the council, still pretty much 100% focused on flood recovery. Biggest news is that we received $2+ million for the Prospect Heights project. And that money is to get all of the infrastructure in place for the housing development. So it's supposed to be around a $6 million project from the city's perspective. This puts a huge dent in that. And it's,
Was that,
big win-win.
is it for the engineering of the infrastructure or actually paying for the infrastructure?
A little bit of it.
Okay.
A little bit of the studies, a little bit of the infrastructure inside. So.
I thought when I read the base report that it was for the engineering, and I thought that was a lot, but I mean, I also know that we're looking at $6.5 or $7 million in engineering costs for stormwater in the town, so I thought maybe that was right. Well, that's good.
Yes.
That's great
Yep,
news.
yep.
Any questions for Teddy? Okay, Chief, you're up.
All right, got a couple folks in background, hoping to get 2 into the September level 2 academy. That's just what's known as a part-time academy. They'll then go to the full-time academy next February. I also have a gentleman that is coming in December, where I'm hoping to get him into the full-time academy as well. We have, July 16th, Corporal Brittany Lewis is leaving us. She's going to still PD. Union is still without a contract. Things are going so well. And we are preparing for Heritage Festival for that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the chief?
Nope.
Okay. Then we will delve into. Let's see, I've got these backwards. Of course I do. We're gonna look at number 109, which is observation and recording of police. This falls under conduct and responsibility. As is typical, we have the note, the policy, the purpose, the contents, and the beginning of the definitions on page 1. Does anybody have anything on page 1 needs to be addressed? Okay. Going to page 2, we start with Article 2, which is a general description. That goes down through page 2. Is there anything on there that anybody has any questions, comments on?
Yeah, one part would be, not interfering, so, but earlier it says that they can't be within the crime scene itself, so like, realistically, that shouldn't be much of a problem.
Right.
Because we're already on the crime
Right.
scene.
This whole thing is just making sure that folks are aware that,
Yeah.
you can be recorded. You know,
Yeah.
Back in the old days, people were like, stop recording.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else on this page? Okay, moving to page 3. Continues with the discussion on observing and recording and goes into prohibitive actions. Is there anything on this page? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to page 4. Page 4 continues on prohibitive actions. There are a lot of prohibited actions in this. Anything on this page?
Mhm.
Okay, me neither. Hearing none, we'll move on to page 5, which includes number 4, supervisor responsibilities, and number 5, seizure of evidentiary video, audio, and photographs. Does anyone have anything on this page? Hearing none, on page 6 has the balance of seizure, and also has the cancellation and the signature page. Is there any discussion on page 6?
No.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve number 109, observation and recording of police. I will second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Counselor? I will call the question. All those in favor, say aye. None opposed. That will move us on to number 409, which is diplomatic and consular immunity, which falls under operational procedures. Just out of curiosity, in your career, has this ever really been used in this area?
It could be in Montpelier, because we're close to Montpelier.
Yeah.
I don't believe it ever has been.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of high-ranking Italian officials in town.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We had the
That's right.
ambassador and the consul general.
You know, being with Dartmouth College so close and those types of things.
Yeah.
It could occur. If
Yeah.
it comes through.
You know, I can just, in New York City, I could definitely say that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this falls under operational procedures. Again, we have the note, the policy, the purpose, and the contents. Number 1 is definitions. Is there anything on page 1? We'll move.
So stuff like this,
Does this really have, because probably following federal guidelines, so it's something that you don't really even have a choice in saying, yeah, we should think it's this way or that way?
Yes, as you'll see, there's appendixes attached here. Everything is in the federal DOJ guidelines on how to deal with diplomats.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you too, when I looked it up, I was like, oh, never mind.
There's certain things you can't do. I mean, you can like ticket them, you can do different things.
So,
There's a
No.
lot of things we have to abide by.
you can't do like lethal weapon.
No.
For the most part,
No.
people behave,
Yeah.
but you can run into issues where their families, you can have a child that goes out and does something foolish.
Sure.
Moving to page 2, section 2, general begins on this page. Is there anything here?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to page 3. Page 3 has E, F, G, and H, and then number 3, identification. Anything on page 3? Moving to page 4. We have the continuation of identification, B through F. You almost had me on secretariats, chief. I will say I had to look it up to be sure. Normally I do okay with big words, but that one almost got away from me. Okay, anything on page 4? Moving to page 5 includes 4 responding officer duties and 5 supervisor duties. Anything there?
But it's basically, they said that if they pull over, interact with someone who's claiming diplomatic immunity, then they have to, the department itself has to reach out to the State Department.
Verify, and that's what those appendixes are, that
Yeah.
tells you who to call, where to go, and
Mhm. If letter A is where it is, then you go to B or C or something else, yeah. Okay, page 6, which talks about diplomatic traffic and parking offenses, number 6. On page 6, is there anything there? Again, most of this is federal and maybe a little bit of state statute, so there's nothing there that we can really, I mean, I couldn't even find a spelling error or any
No.
punctuation, chief, as usual.
There is one.
All right. Page 7 has number 7, which is the cancellation page and the signature page. And if there's nothing there, I will make the motion that we consider approving number 409, which is diplomatic and consular immunity.
Oh,
So we have a first and a second. There's no more discussion. And I will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous approval. So next we are on to 611. I'm sorry, as I was going through these, apparently I got them out of order. My apologies. 611 is response to crimes against healthcare workers and emergency medical personnel. And this falls under investigative procedures. Again, the note policy purpose and contents, and number 1 is definitions. Is there anything on that first page? Hearing nothing, we'll go to page 2. I caught you here, chief. Letter K, transportation TOA hospital.
whoa, where did I miss that? Oh,
okay,
I
there we
missed
go,
that
no space.
Oh, shoot.
Anything else on page 2?
No.
This again is a fairly beefy one. There was a lot of reading here. Moving to page 3, covers the definition still and goes to pre-hospital incident response, which is letter number 2. Sorry, number 2. Any questions on page 3 here?
The activation of the body worn cameras, did you include that specifically in this policy just because there's that somewhat gray area, or people might have concerns about?
Yeah,
HIPAA?
because technically, if you remember under the body worn camera policy, the state mandated policy, you cannot activate them in hospitals or schools unless
Right.
certain circumstances that exist. And this This policy is based off of a recent state law enforcement advisory board policy that they just put out because they just changed the law and made this a crime.
Good.
Or I should say, it's with enhanced penalties. It's only the crime for assault, but
Yeah, I can say this has been I was interested when I saw this on the agenda. That's a super hot topic over there.
Yes, everywhere.
My stepmother was attacked, she was a nurse. She was attacked at the hospital, and that was a whole nightmare.
Any other questions on page 3? Hearing none, we'll move to page 4. This continues with the pre-hospital incident response. There's nothing there. We can move on to page 5. Continues with that same category. Anything on page 5? Hearing nothing, we'll move to page 6. Page 6 finishes up that and goes to number 3, which is hospital incident response. So I noticed some duplication there. A lot of it made sense. And if there's nothing on page 6, we'll move to page 7. The only thing I had here, Chief, on G, second line down at the end, it's section 2, G. I don't know if there should be a comma after 2. Section 2, G. An officer should be. I don't know if that's proper punctuation or not. I got to do something to keep you on your toes.
That blows through some of those sometimes.
That actually raises a question separate, but for the authorized representative of the hospital, is that something that y'all have like a list of in advance, or is that up to the officer to determine?
we generally, we can find it out. We don't necessarily have a list, but you would ask the charge nurse up there.
Yeah.
Because there's things that like only a charge nurse can do, and then there's things that a charge nurse couldn't do that have to go above their head, so you have to find out who the authorized person is that can do that.
Good question, Council. At the bottom, page 7, we go to number 4, which is report writing. If there's nothing else on page 7, then we'll move to page 8. I got you on another one here.
You got the same one. Like that.
Yeah.
The evaluate one.
See that?
That was a good one.
Mhm. That is under number 5, Americans with Disabilities Act, letter A. And for anybody who might be following along at another time, in section 6, post-incident criminal decisions, I think officers under letter A, since it's the beginning of a sentence, should be capitalized. Again, it's nitpicky, Chief.
Keep me on my toes, though.
I'm beginning to think that you put this stuff in just so that we have something to comment on.
Can't let you think you're perfect.
Okay, anything else on page 8? Hearing none. Page 9 has the cancellation and the signature page. Entertain a motion that we approve number 611, response to crimes against healthcare workers.
Move to approve the corrections.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed, another unanimous. Okay, now we're going to number 802, which is incident report. This falls under field reporting system. And again, note, policy, purpose, and contents are on page 1, along with the introduction, which is a little bit different. Because normally I think the chief has definitions at the front.
Usually definitions on field policies. but
Yep.
This one is basically, I didn't put them in there because all the folks know how to use it. This is just dictating that
And we,
they use it appropriately.
Yeah. And we've covered most of these in other, yeah. So, anything on page 1?
No.
We'll go to page 2, which includes submission and report processing and report preparation. Hearing no questions on page 2, we will move on. Page 3 continues the report preparation. Includes a lot of different stuff on there. Moves over to page 4. There's no questions on 3 or 4. I will move on to page 5.
Yeah, see,
There's a period of time.
Page 5 has more information on here. Where we can slide over to page 6.
In 5 and 6,
Mhm.
I keep an officer queue and keep a supervisor queue, just squaring that earlier with submission. um, Where all the reports will be submitted by the end of tour of duty meeting shift. Yeah, so basically. If there's an active investigation or for whatever reason they can't pull everything together by the end of the shift, this just tracks that so that. And is that something that's doing weekly or like the officer on the next shift will see that and say, okay, what's going on? Or
So, when I got here, I made them start doing shift briefings, which puts out, it's a printout from the system. And we have a little blurb in the media press summary of what happened. We see that in the shift briefing. So every officer and every shift knows what the previous shifts have done. And talking about work queues, when you sign into the system, you have your own work queue. The officer has their work queue, the supervisor has their work queue, and you send it out of yours, it goes to the supervisors, and you can keep them in the queues. So if you have an active investigation, they have to keep them in the queue. And supervisors have to go and check the queue to make sure, they're following up, doing the supplemental reports.
but the next shift can still see all of that.
Yes.
So that they're,
They
still know
they
the
can,
thing that's happening.
yes, they can
Okay,
see
okay.
everything, but it's just the one it's assigned to, the primary officer, it's in their queue.
Yeah,
They're responsible for
great. Yeah.
it. Everybody can see it.
That just seems like a place that could be, like, not a loophole, but like, I could see
Nothing,
things getting lost.
I will say that nothing is worse than coming in and getting a phone call about, hey, can you tell me what happened or this, and you bring up the officer's incident and you don't have it,
Great question.
It's like they're trying to read dispatch notes and,
Okay. So that was 5, and I think we moved to 6, which included number 5, which is involvements, and number 6, which is follow-ups. We have questions there? Move on to number 7, which includes late report entry and the cancellation and the signature page. Anybody have any questions or anything to add there?
How, I'm just curious, does the record management system often go down?
sometimes it does.
Yeah.
It's
It's not infrequent.
It's, it happens maybe 3 times a year. They'll have a glitch and the thing is,
Yeah.
so you have to take some things you're not aware of.
So, I'm sorry,
We haven't called.
have we called it? Okay, do we have a motion in a second? Okay. So this again is to approve number 802, the incident report. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
fine.
Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you for keeping me on track, Counselor. So next is 803 supplemental reports. This may be the shortest one
Mhm.
that we've had. Again, note policy, purpose and contents, the introduction. On page 1, on page 2, he talks about report completion, report processing, and it has the cancellation and the signature page. And I circled keep in the sup queue,
Mhm.
because all I could think of was sup, dude.
That's,
But
that's the name of it. The system abbreviates it, and it says, you check the box, keep it and stuff. It's the supervisor.
supervisor queue, I assumed that's what it was, yeah. I just thought that was
That's
funny.
why it's in quote.
What's up?
Yeah.
It's up, Q.
What's up?
All right, since I've heard no other questions, I would entertain a motion to approve 803, the supplemental reports, which I never said, for the record, it's in field reporting system.
So,
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I will call the question. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? We have another unanimous, and we have someone trying to get in. Okay, so that moves on to number 12, which is 804, the names table. Page 1, this falls under the field reporting system as well. And again, has the note, the policy, the purpose, and the contents, as well as the introduction and my favorite definitions. Any questions on page 1?
No.
Okay. We'll flip to page 2. This covers number 3, which is the names table entry, and number 4, which is the data entry standards. Does anybody have questions on either of those items on page 2?
I was just wondering, but I kind of answered my own question, where it says under A, bullet point 3, it said titles, e.g. doctor, professor, et cetera, shall not be included in the name field. I was just curious to why. I mean, it's,
Just because it's the generics of the system. It's last first.
Yeah.
Junior, senior.
I kind of thought that, but I was like, just curious.
Okay. Any other questions on page 2?
Sort of a more general question, is this for not just, but over the weekend, when I was traveling, I saw a very bad accident. And, my girlfriend called 911, and so we gave our statements, to the sheriff who showed up. Does this name database, well, like, if this were in place in that PD, would Edward Wozniak then show up in that? So like, is this for everybody who has an interaction with the PD in one way or another, or is it more
Yes.
targeted to?
Everybody that has an interaction. So for instance, if you call up dispatch and you call in an assault, I'm witnessing an assault on North Main Street. You're gonna be listed as the caller. Your name information goes in there. The victims will be in there. The suspect will be in there. Any of the witnesses will be in there. They all get associated with the case. So that all goes down to the state's attorney's office. And that is the names table in the records management system.
So then, in theory, an officer could then like look up last name Wozniak and see he
Yes.
called in this one and he
Yes,
got a
and
ticket
there's-
this day.
Yes, and there's a person history button that for just that you can look up and show the history of individuals.
And from a software perspective, stick with Wozniak because there's a bunch of Z's and S's in there. Is there a way to account for like misspellings or?
Yes, with this system, this particular system is, you should just start with like WA and go through. Some
Yeah.
fields allow you wildcards, WA asterisk, then Z asterisk K. It'll bring up any variations of spellings. And it's,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yes, and is what happens, because there's individuals that are, administrators that have to go through and you let them know, hey, there's a duplicate name. this one is spelled this way, this one is spelled this way, it's verified, that's the same individual, same date of birth, same address.
Great.
Then they have to merge them and correct it.
Yeah, because I just like at work, we have databases for our nonprofit, and it's very low stakes, like it's hard enough with all the French names and such that we have in Vermont, it's hard enough to keep track, so it's good that the software is smart enough to
Yes.
keep track of that.
Okay, anything else on page 2?
No.
We'll go to page 3. Page 3 includes item number 5, which is conducting name searches. Any questions on page 3? We'll move to page 4, which includes the cancellation and the signature page. There's no discussion on that, then I would entertain a motion that to approve number 804, the names table.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? We'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed. Last on this list, we've made good time.
You should have two.
Yeah,
Two.
You missed 419.
419 off.
Yeah,
419 and 903.
okay. Yes, I did.
I was just counting.
So can we make a friendly amendment to the agenda? We should have done that at the beginning. If I'd realized that I'd missed it.
Oh,
That's
it's on
fine.
the agenda.
Yeah, I
It's
got it.
on the agenda.
I must have an old agenda because mine doesn't have it.
419.
Oh.
Okay,
Oh, it's on there as well, it's on.
must be item 14.
Yeah,
Okay,
So then let's do 903.
so 15 is miscellaneous and 16 is adjourned.
Yeah.
I must have caught it and didn't reprint it.
You sent the agenda, so.
I did.
You didn't pick it up.
I did, matter of fact. Well, we're off to a rousing start. So we're gonna do 903, which is First Amendment assemblies. This falls under special operations. Again, this covers, the first page covers the note, the policy, the purpose, the contents, and starts with definitions. Is there anything on page 1? Hearing nothing, we'll move to page 2. Which includes general. Go ahead, Council.
When it says officers should not engage in assembly or demonstrated discussion, is that just when? Are officers allowed to engage in those types of things when they're off duty?
They can.
Yeah.
They have the freedom to do so. This is just saying if, for instance.
While they're in their capacity.
Right, if you had a, they shouldn't get in the middle, if you will. Just-
Right.
That's an easy way to sum it up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you could have a, something whether they agree or disagree.
Either for or against it.
They have to be apolitical and just stick there.
Right.
I think this is going to be really under federal guidelines and it's kind of like.
Well, some of it is, yeah. Some of it, the First Amendment has a wide girth, if you will, that says how basically you have to function during demonstrations like that. And in today's day and age, you have, this is plausible to occur at any given time.
Yes, it is. So that's page 2. Did you have any other questions here, Counselor? Okay. We'll move on to page 3. Which includes number 3, a response to demonstrations and assemblies.
On F, de-escalating for potential disorder and avoiding mass arrest, officers shall endeavor to accommodate assemblies. So this is civic disobedience by blocking traffic. And it's assumed that the officers will do their best to both protect the protesters and protect those who are in the traffic.
Yes.
By acting on their feet, rerouting the traffic to keep the city flowing.
Yes.
But does not necessarily automatically move to a place of mass arrest.
I personally went through this in my career and had to reroute traffic. It took a couple of hours, and unfortunately, there was a truck that got stuck in the middle of it, and he was upset, but, you know, we had to deal with it and get everybody out of there. We gave him enough time, and then, you know, after like 2 hours, we said, enough is enough, you can't, like, lock arms sitting in the crosswalk, you're out of here. It also gave us time to get the sheriff's department vans that could move, you know, 5 to 6 people at a time.
Especially in Vermont, where there's often only one way.
Right.
It's not like it, from my facility, just divert a block.
Can't get there from here. Yes, that's one of the, I struggle a little bit with that because I guess I'm unsure, not having been a protester of any kind in my life that I recall. Maybe the prices of deer or something, but the protesting, I'm not sure how blocking Main Street to keep people from going about their daily lives is going to convince those people to join. So, you know, that
Yeah.
the person in me, the business person in me, who is always going and doing something, that's frustrating, but I understand that it's.
For the most part, it's to protect them, protect everybody.
Yep.
And buy some time to get the resources to arrest everybody.
Yeah.
That's a more
Yeah.
nicer way of saying it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wondered the same thing. What, I don't understand the point.
Right.
Like, I've got a big mouth, for sure. Like, I don't, it would have to be a perfect, like, where I would never want to interfere with anybody.
Right.
Like,
I mean, you know, why not use one of the parks and
And
Yeah.
this
you know.
could be also in a. And
right,
it could not, it may
Yeah.
not be blocking traffic.
Yeah.
Like the one I was involved in started in the park. And we had tried working beforehand with the I don't call them a host, you know,
Mhm.
the organizers.
Yep.
And they wanted to pull a fast one, and they all marched and just took over the intersection. We were totally unprepared, like, uh-oh. It's 5 o'clock and the main intersection.
Yeah.
So we had to buy time.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so that's page 3. That's response to number 3, response to demonstrations and assemblies. Any questions there? Flip to page 4. Continues in that vein, number 4, and then number 5 on their planned events.
On H. Each officer shall not be authority for the person to criticize through speech unless they are endangering another officer or person, which I think we able to like, you know, get him. That would be an endangering officer or person,
Yeah.
but, or actually interfering with a legitimate law enforcement objective. Could you talk about how someone criticizing law enforcement through speech might actively interfere with law?
So when there's ways to hinder arrest, if you're like, if somebody's coming in to arrest somebody, and people are trying to get other folks like rallied against.
Oh, like a human chain, they're coming to arrest Steve, form a human chain around Steve.
Yeah.
So that they-
Either
He was
that, or they're rallying people to, you know, attack the police or whatever, that would be interfering.
Yeah, the endangering.
Any other questions on this? So how does, in seeing letter K, which is body worn cameras and other audio recording, audio video recording devices, if someone calls in and says, hey, there's a commotion going on here, when the officer responds, isn't the initial
Yes.
expectation that they will engage their recording device?
Yes, is what this sentence means is, say you were having in City Hall Park, you were gonna have a demonstration. We could not, and it was a peaceful one, we could not just go down there and record it for intelligence gathering.
Is what you're saying, okay,
Um,
okay, You'd have to be called to the scene, and I guess I missed that piece of it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Okay, that's page 4. Is there anything else there?
Nope.
Okay, we'll move on to page 5. Which continues of planned events and goes to unplanned events, number 5.
Just curiosity on Operation Special Events Plan, there's a bunch of things that shall be minimally provided for. Is that statute or is that just?
It's just. We do, even for parades, I do a special events, plan that says who's gonna be where, who's doing what. and
Yeah, very common.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else on page 5? Hearing nothing, we'll move to page 6, which includes number 6, use of force, and 7, arrests.
Under use of force, the bullet point under A, control devices should be directed towards individuals and not towards crowds. More specific, individuals, not targeted. So this is basically saying if you have like the beat bag guns or something, you're not just gonna, you have to have somebody that you're.
Right,
You can't just say, oh, this group of.
and
protesters
you've
is
seen
rowdy.
instances, it usually happens in university situations, when you clearly remember the video on the news, where the officer just went by with a fire. It was just
Yeah,
fire.
Yeah.
yes, right.
You can't do that.
Okay.
And I just had a quick question under 7, arrest,
Hmm.
under A. The second, above the last sentence where it says the authorized designee, who is that person?
Where is
Sorry,
that?
where are you looking at?
Yeah, under 7 on page 6, it says mass arrest shall only be undertaken upon the order of the incident commander or the authorized designee. So I'm just curious who the authorized designee.
That would be like me, or, somebody that's
Oh.
there, because the incident commander, you may have an incident commander that isn't even this agency, so to speak, it's depending on one state.
If you call it the state user.
Yeah, so whoever's made the incident commander, depending on the volume of the event,
Okay,
that goes into the ICS, the incident control system.
okay. That's easy, so, okay.
And then there must be probable cause for each arrest. So there's a protest of 100 people in City Hall Park. 15 of them are blocking traffic, let's say.
15 get arrested.
You can't arrest them.
Under A again, second line down, chief, towards the end, section 12, mass, should be lowercase m. And probably arrest should be unless you're saying,
Oh, second line down,
yeah, over on the end, it says mass arrests. I don't think the A or the M needs to be capitalized, do it, unless you're,
yes, because that's
that's the title of it, okay.
Yeah, section 12, mass arrests under critical incident response.
Okay,
Sure.
okay, so it doesn't need to be capitalized anywhere else in this paragraph then?
No.
Okay.
Because the next one is just a sentence that says mass.
All right,
Should be. In blue.
can't blame a guy for trying. Anything else on page 6?
No.
Page 7 talks about media relations, which is number 8. Number 9 is demobilization. And number 10, which is after action review. Any questions here?
No,
Okay. Clears page 7. Page 8 has the cancellation and the signature page. If there's nothing on that, then I will make a motion that we accept number 903 First Amendment Assemblies Policy.
Mhm.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Have another approved policy. Last.
Get you somewhere, chief, but very good.
Nice.
Number 419. is patrol operations. This falls under operational procedures. As always, note, policy, purpose, contents are on the first page, and we go into general. Can you just give me a, for instance, I think I know what it means, but the personal interest of the individual officer? So if I was somebody that liked to fish and there was a fish and game show, I could say, hey, I'd like to work the fish and game show? Is,
No, this is talking about you're assigned to squads for shifts.
Mhm.
For instance, right now the officers have fixed shifts. And you have personal interests of individuals to remain on midnights because it's better for their family life.
Yep.
So if it's allowable, you can do that.
got it.
Seniority doesn't, a lot of that is covered in the CBA.
Yeah.
In the CBA. All of those go for taking.
So how often do you have 5 people that want to be on one particular shift and you only need 3? I mean, just out of curiosity. If that's something that happens a lot, do you have to make those decisions?
For instance, with the vacancies, we had an individual that recently, since last year, his wife had a baby, and he wanted to come off second shift days.
Mhm.
It didn't totally deplete second shift, so and there was a vacancy on first, he was allowed to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm glad that you're able to do that and willing to. It's good for the officers, for the health department. Any other questions on page 1? Going to page 2. That continues and we go to number 2, which is strategy. In looking at the 2 bullet points under letter B, I'm assuming those are right out of the CBA, which are the 8-week rotation, scheduled regular leave days and
Yes.
weekly pay period, all that.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Under capital A, directed patrol under strategy. I don't know if you capitalize the first letter of the next sentences after. So A patrol. I'm digging, chief.
Oh, look at you.
I'm digging.
Reaching.
Just in case somebody thinks I don't read these. Not hearing anything else on page 2, we'll move to page 3. Page 3 has number 3, which is traffic management. Anything on page 3?
Under selective enforcement, is this basically just writing out that the officer has the personal, capacity to decide like, okay, that person's going 6 miles over.
Yeah, so that's more for selective enforcement. For instance, I'll take 62. 62 is being a problem. The supervisor can say, I want you to go and run my guy, do directed patrol on 62. That's what's, it's not so much as
Not so much of the
selective
individual.
as I'm gonna.
Okay. That makes sense. Let it be known to the committee.
Guess I'm gonna have to slow down. Anything else on page 3? Moving to page 4. Number 4 at the top of the page is response to alarms. Comes all the way down, talks about robberies, robbery not in progress. Had to go through those a couple of times. Burglary alarms. Any questions on 4? If there is none, we will move to page 5, which is a continuation of response to alarms. My apologies, I didn't silence my phone. Includes 5, notification.
when an officer is doing an interior search, so when resources permit 2 officers or a canine patrol team should be assigned to conduct a search. If there's a if there is a suspected robbery, one alarm is going off, is there a situation in which an officer by themselves without backup outside would go in? I didn't know.
Okay. Anything else on page 5?
I also like the officers will use discretion. Frequent false knowledge. I can be like, Bob, fix your alarms.
No, that's not the police alarm that we have the problem with. It's the fire alarm. Dust keeps setting off our
Oh,
fire
that
alarms.
way?
Yes, yes. We keep trying to clean it up and it keeps setting off our smoke alarms, even when we cover them with bags.
Wow.
Yes.
Why is your
Yes.
store so dusty?
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, that's exactly it. That's why I'm trying to clean the basement out. Well, maybe this week we'll wash the floors for me.
Wash it clean.
Yeah. All right, yes. Okay, we'll move to page 6. Is there anything on page 6? Hearing nothing, we will move along to page 7. Some stuff there, nothing on page 7. We'll move to page 8, which includes the cancellation and the signature page. There's nothing there. I would ask for a motion that we consider to approve number 419, which is, bear with me, patrol operations.
And I said,
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. We'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye, none opposed. Passed unanimously.
Just a comment again, is how complete these policies are.
Yeah.
It's almost like, okay, there's really not a lot that.
you don't miss a trick,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yep.
And I tried it, 9:30.
We had no doubt, Counselor, and no fear.
That's a good combination. I like that combination.
That's good, that's good.
Does anybody have anything for miscellaneous? I think I sent you an email, had a really excellent interaction with Officer McGowan. I'll say that publicly during the committee meeting. It was well done. He did a good job. And it was much appreciated. So, kudos to him and to all your officers.
Oh, absolutely, the ones I've met are amazing.
Counselor, you had something?
Yes, I was just gonna say, I've, let the city manager know, and I've let folks that I'm talking to know that we do have a vacancy.
Mhm.
On that, just per this was a little, you guys had to make all the motions and
Yes.
stuff, so I think we just always function better with the full committee, so.
Yes.
Keep talking that up as you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think they changed the change, it doesn't have to be city, isn't it, right?
It does not have to be.
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think so.
Yeah. I put out a
Well,
few
it's not a-
feelers.
Well, I know.
Well, you had to have a significant tie to the city.
Right. but
Okay,
they
I
were-
thought it
At
did.
one time, they were going to change, do you remember they were going to change the?
Ah, yes, the former mayor
Based-
had it.
Yes,
Yes.
based on,
Yes,
And
yes,
for
yes,
the-
yes. Yep.
Yes. Yep. If there's nothing else, then I would listen to a motion to adjourn at 6:54.
we made it 6 minutes.
And
to spare.
second.
Okay, non-debatable. All those in favor say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. We had one person on, but apparently she left.
She bumped out.
Yeah.
Who was it? Is there a name?
Connie.
Connie.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Sorry, I gotta think.